uplands surrounding the village of Sobibor in the Polish countryside was far away from the cosmopolitan world. Sobibor became the site of a death camp. It was in the Polish frontier, out of view, and close to a rail line. Sobibor was the most secret of all of Germany's death camps. In September of 1941, Hitler appointed Reinhard Heydrich, who was to become the chief architect of the final solution, to the position of Deputy Reich Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia. Heydrich established his headquarters in Prague, Czechoslovakia, and he led a life of splendor, completely unaware that he was a marked man. British MI6 formulated a plan to assassinate Heydrich. In May 1942, 5 months after the Wannsee Conference, Mercedes automobile, Heydrich was sitting in the back seat of his car when the bomb exploded. The explosion blew fibers from the car's upholstery and fibers from Heydrich's own woolen coat into his body. Shrapnel lodged in his spleen, causing irreparable and fatal damage. Upon hearing of the assassination attempt, Himmler dispatched his personal physician to assume the directorship of Heydrich's medical care, but the situation was diagnosed as grave. On June 4th of 1942, septic poisoning ended Heydrich's, the blonde beast as he was called, reign of terror. To honor their fallen comrade, the German SS laid plans for Operation Reinhard, and it became the code name for Germany's maniacal determination to maximize the extermination of Europe's Jews, and 3 more death camps were quickly erected. Operation Reinhard became Germany's highest priority. Shortly before Heydrich's death in 1942, the Germans built the Sobibor death camp, and it was designed to maximize the throughput of death. Jews were transported in cattle cars from Czechoslovakia, Germany, Austria, Poland, France, the Soviet Union, and the Netherlands. Upon arrival, all but a very select few were either immediately shot or gassed. More than 250,000 Jews were murdered in Sobibor in less than 2 years. I remember we're standing there next to a pit of blue-black corpses, where it says, "What shall we do with rotting garbage?" Franz Stengel, the former commandant of Auschwitz. Sobibor was actually 2 camps. A labor camp to process the clothing and personal items taken from the incoming prisoners, which needed to be sorted and packed into rail cars and shipped back to Germany. The other camp was the death camp, and it was built around 3 gas chambers. Later, in 1942, an additional 3 more gas chambers were installed at Sobibor to increase the production of death. The Sobibor death camp became the scene of one of the most daring escapes of World War II. It was here that 300 prisoners bolted to freedom after an hour-long battle with the Germans and the Ukrainian SS guards. Sobibor was staffed by 11 German SS and dozens of Ukrainian SS members. The Germans ran the camp administration, and the Ukrainians operated the nastier business of the camp. Leon Feldhendler, one of the laborers in the work camp, had also been the chairman of the Jewish Council at Zolkiev, Poland. He was in his 30s and was well respected. He had loosely formulated 3 different escape plans. The first plan was to use the Jewish youths, who were called putzers by the SS guards, and these boys did such chores as shining the officers' boots and running small errands. They were to sneak into the guards' barracks, kill the guards, find weapons, and bring them to the Jewish underground organization in the camp, and there would be a revolt. The second plan involved using the women working in the north part of the camp, where the guards' weapons were cleaned and maintained in the camp's arsenal. The women were to smuggle out grenades, blow up the mess hall while the German and Ukrainian guards were eating, then blow up the administration building and the officers' barracks. Weapons would be captured, and there would be an armed revolt. The third plan was to set fire to several of the barracks to create a diversion, and while the German and Ukrainians were putting out the fires, the Jews would make their escape. All three plans were close to suicidal, but Leon was determined to try anything. Then, on 23 September 1943 at 9 o'clock in the morning, another train packed with Jews arrived, and as luck would have it, out of one of the cars stepped Lieutenant Alexander Pechersky, a seasoned Russian combat veteran. Pechersky had been taken prisoner of war during the Battle of Smolensk, Russia, and during a routine physical at the POW camp, the Germans found that Pechersky was circumcised and that he was Jewish. He was shipped to Sobibor. Lieutenant Pechersky attracted Leon's attention. Sasha was brave, confident, and had combat experience. The two men discussed the escape plans that were being considered, the weaknesses of the plans, and the fact that the Jewish resistance did not know how to effect any of them. Leon offered Sasha the job of commander of the Jewish resistance in the camp, and he, Leon, would assume the position of deputy commander. Sasha assumed that command. The two men brought together the strength and the competencies needed. Leon knew the camp's infrastructure, and Sasha brought about the combat experience. Inmates quietly began the production of knives and axes. Pechersky ran the operations in Camp 1, while Leon commanded the operations in Camp 2. First, they had to eliminate an Eber capo whom everyone called Berliner. In reward for turning camp informant, the Germans made Berliner head capo of the camp, and Berliner got his nickname by his continual boasting that after the war he would be in Berlin while those around him were dead. No one was safe while Berliner was alive, and the escape plan was deeply imperiled.